Discussions in this show should not be construed as specific recommendations or investment advice. Always consult with your investment professional before making important investment decisions. And now, Financial Renaissance with the M's.
And we are back with Financial Renaissance with the M's. This is one of those days. I love it. Keep you on your toes. All right. Top 5 news stories of the week. We're going to talk about Vietnam. As I mentioned, Vietnam has joined a bunch of other Southeast Asian countries. They're trying to lure retirees to their part of the world. You could just leave that. So there were over 58,000 service members that died in Vietnam in the 60s and 70s, and the war ended in 1975. And for a lot of us have fathers, some mothers, grandfathers, who were impacted by going to Vietnam. Vietnam was a horrible war. It was worse than this 20-year war we're having with Afghanistan and Iraq. So a lot of us have parents that were impacted by this. Some of us have parents that weren't great parents because of the atrocities that they saw over in Vietnam. So I'm a little happy. I'm twofold about this. I'm a little happy because it will help some people make amends with the things that they've done or the things that they've seen by going back and visiting. But two, if you're trying to retire, and retiring in America is expensive, why not consider another country?
Right.
As Americans, we are the only people, I think, on the planet that only want to stay here. But Europeans come here, Africans come here, people in the Middle East come here, people in Russia even come here. Everybody wants to come to America. Well, maybe we need to think about going and checking out some other places. So you could live off of about $2,000 a month in Vietnam. Other countries that are looking to get people from the U.S. there are Cambodia and also Sri Lanka. With Sri Lanka, you can live off of about $1,000 to $2,000 per month. And their cost of healthcare is so much cheaper than what we're paying here in the States. Now, think about this. During retirement, with Medicare, not the Medicaid. Medicaid is for people that don't have money anymore, but Medicare, you're going to spend about anywhere from $150,000 to $280,000 a year on medical costs during retirement. So if you're only going to spend about, let's say, $100 a month or $100 a year or a couple hundred a year for medical costs in other countries, look at Vietnam, look at Southeast Asia, look at Mexico, look at Central America, look at places where healthcare costs aren't going to be so bad.
Sign me up, definitely. My father
up.
is a Vietnam vet.
Yeah, and he's a little special, ain't he?
Oh yeah, he is definitely a character.
Yes, my father also was in Vietnam, and he is a character, and that is the nicest way to say that. All right, capital warfare. So in France, they came out with a board game, like a Monopoly game or a Game of Life game, but it's for the 21st century. It's called Capital. And it forces players to fight with each other as they struggle to be accepted by the rich.
Real life story.
Yes. Capital was created by a French sociologist and her husband, and the board game pits working and middle-class players against each other as they race towards tax havens and ownerships of luxurious cruise ships.
Oh, wow.
Huh? Cruise ships?
They should be more realistic. They're trying to buy belts and shoes.
Right, and cars and
Right.
rims. Do people still buy rims?
I'm
Not
really hoping not, but yes, they do.
What about the lights underneath? I want some lights underneath my car. I think red lights would look real dope underneath my car.
If you want to be pulled over every week, you should get that.
I won't get pulled over. I speak Spanish. Oh, I will get pulled over. I speak Spanish. So yeah, this game is absolutely crazy. Now, this story, I'm actually, can we get some cheers? Can we get some cheers for Facebook? Find us some cheers for Facebook. So I'm always dogging Facebook out, right? Especially when Mark Zuckerberg went and sat in front of the Congress and they were asking him all these stupid questions. How do you turn on the computer? What is the interweb? And, all this stupidness. Mark Zuckerberg was acting like he didn't have an answer for anything. Well, it looks like we finally got the answer. They removed 900 accounts, pages, and groups from their platform last week, including Instagram, because these 900 accounts and people were using deceptive practices to push pro-Trump narratives to about 55 million users.
It's about time.
Yeah.
It's about time.
And the crazy thing about this, thank you. The crazy thing about this is that a lot of these accounts were not even real human beings. And when real talk, when we come back, I'm going to tell you a little bit about how they use AI and robots and little stuff to kind of fool us.
Ignore the bots.
Ignore the bots.
energizing a nation, one listener at a time. It's ssnatl.com. Radio that's not dumbed down.
And we are back. Are we back? We are back. We're back with Financial Renaissance with the M's. I'm here with my co-host, Kia Barnes.
Excited to be here.
Excited. Before the break, we were talking about Facebook.
Oh, boy.
And Facebook going after them bots.
Well, Zuckerberg has changed the world, so he should be held accountable.
Yeah.
He should do something about it because people think that that's actually how Americans feel, and it's not us. They've changed the internet privacy laws and everything, and it's been bots.
Hey, check this out. So 610 Facebook accounts, 156 groups, 89 pages, 72 Instagram accounts associated with the BL. And the BL is a digital news outlet that describes itself as pure mountain spring, moistening the heart of every reader. They are, yeah, right.
Great translation.
Right. And then they are connected to the Epoch Times, which is a conservative media organization with ties to Chinese spiritual group and a history of aggressive support for Trump. So aggressive support for Trump, I don't even understand what that means, but it says the BL Network's pages were operated by users in Vietnam and the U.S. who Facebook says made widespread use of fake accounts to evade detection and funnel traffic to its own website. So if you're in a group, stay in that group. Like, don't deviate and go to people's like websites and things like that. And then one of the things they were doing is like, if you joined a group for comedians, right? We want to, I don't know, do comedians share jokes or no?
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay. Well, let's say you wanted to discuss how to make muffins or whatever, and you go into this group and you're making muffins. Then the next thing you know, there's a political, comment or commentary and things like that. That's not the group for you. If you go into a group to do something specific, learn about money, learn how to do, I don't know, Holly Homemaker type things. I don't do anything in the house. Whatever DIY projects, like I'm not good at that stuff, so I would never do it. But if you're in those types of groups, scrapbooking, etc., be careful if the conversation veers to the left, or in this case to the right, and it gets very aggressive or anti anything. And then also for those of you, that's on the right, the Republicans, the Tea Party, those types of people. But then on the left, we're going to start seeing stuff like that too. And there's going to be a lot of negative talk about Republicans and Trump and different people. Like, we're dead all that. Dead all that. Unify, united we stand, divided we fall. Like, forget about it. Forget about it.
They're trying to brainwash us and
make us hate each other.
It's not even our people. It's not even our culture. It's really feeding into somebody that's getting paid off of it at the end of the day. Yeah,
and what's crazy is that they use profile pictures that weren't even real. They're AI generated faces. Oh my gosh, that is crazy.
Talk about catfish. That's real life.
The catfishing is going to get, like, people are going to be FaceTiming and messaging, talking to people. They're not even real. Like, it is about to get really serious. So for those of you who are doing a lot of stuff on the internet, be leery. Here's another story about Mormons. The Mormon Church is accused of stockpiling billions and avoiding taxes.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Who saw that coming?
Yeah. So last week I did a story about the Trump Foundation, and I also talked about nonprofits and how when you're giving money to a nonprofit, you really want to make sure that the money that you're giving is going towards the things that you want it to go towards. So this particular case about the Mormon Church, they had a whistleblower, two of them, two brothers. I think his name was like Liam and David or something like that. And they're saying they filed a complaint with the IRS. So once you bring the IRS in, they want, we don't have enough money. The new tax cuts aren't generating enough, so they got to get money where they can. So they filed.
Can definitely get it from the churches.
Yes. So they told the IRS that the Mormon Church has $100 billion in accounts intended for charitable works that they've misleaded members and they're avoiding paying taxes on. 100 billion, not 100 million, 100 billion with a B. Okay, and I believe that's 9 zeros and a comma, so that we could put it in perspective.
That's because they're not having to pay those iPhone bills or anything else. They're just stacking all their bread.
So usually when I hear about whistleblowers and stuff like that, I'm like, oh, wow. But remember, the whistleblower would get 30% of any back taxes and penalties. So for these two brothers, I'm like, I'm not sure I'm believing this. So what? Up to 30%. So
you just put me on game. I'm snitching on everybody.
Exactly. Up to 30% of any back taxes and or penalties. But the brothers said that they are very mindful that the money could be recovered is money that will be coming from the tithes and from the people that they care about. But this money is special. I'm not really liking their responses, so I don't know if they're doing it for the money or if there's a legit reason. One of the brothers actually works in the church, and the other brother works at the financial firm that's stockpiling the $100 billion. So they've got a legitimate thing. So I'd like to see how this plays out, and hopefully, I think the Mormon Church does a lot of good. Like my mother used them to do our family tree before the internet. You know, she would go to the Mormon churches. They have all the records, blah, 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 blah. Not pro or against. I'm just telling you, you know, $100 billion sitting somewhere.
Absolutely.
All right. Africa. The last story has to do with Africa. So there is a movement. They are calling it Year in Recovery or Year of something.
Year of Return.
Year of Return, where the different countries in Africa would like to have Americans, and particularly African Americans, come and visit, spend our disposable income visiting, you know, such places like they've got the biggest waterfall in the world. I think it's called Victoria Falls, et cetera, et cetera. And then a couple of countries are also trying to get educated African Americans to come to Africa with their skills, and they're offering them incentives. However, for those of us in the LGBT communities,
right, we'll be locked up.
Right. Depending on the countries, like a lot of our conservative evangelical people have gone over to Africa and have kind of bashed people that are LGBTQ to the point where not only getting locked up, some people are actually being killed.
Right.
Right. So for those of you who are thinking about visiting Africa, again, you know, go on the State Department's website. And also there has to be some type of LGBTQ. Actually, I think Trina's Chamber of Commerce, the Out Georgia Business Alliance, you could talk to Mike, and Mike may be able to tell you, he's their tourism guy. He may be able to tell you what countries are LGBTQ friendly or not friendly, because before you go to a country, you want to know. When we come back on Financial Renaissance with the M's, I've got Kia Barnes, Kia Comedy. We're going to be jumping into some more of that monetizing social media when we come back.
Sounds good.
Scratch, greed. Benjamins, assets.